there was a company, Post, who made grape nuts. They had all the cereal business, during the Great Depression. They had the cereal business kind of cornered, and they owned the market. And when the Depression hit, they kind of pulled back on some of their marketing efforts because they thought we're fine, we're going to be good. And guess what? This other company called Kellogg's launched with this tiger, right? Tony the Tiger. And they smashed, they took them down, Kellogg, and you can read, there's hundreds of businesses that have grown during these tougher times because they advanced.
My name is Great Moore with the Culmen Group Podcast, and I'm so thankful to have Ralph Amos on the show today. He is a marketing expert, and I don't think there's a better time now to have a strategist like Ralph on the show to talk with all of you all about how we are going to market in the digital age, which is now virtual, which is, everybody's been saying it's coming. And I think over the last 5 weeks, 4.5 weeks, we know that it's here. So I thought nothing better than to have an expert on how to stay in contact with our clients, how to ensure that what we're doing resonates, that we're getting the results we want, we're spending the money where we should spend the money. And no better person to talk about than an Atlanta expert here with Ralph. So Ralph, if you'll give us a brief introduction, and you can go back as far as you like, but just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I started out in the late 90s, built my first website back when you had to, hand code everything, and was doing that, and the .com bubble kind of popped. And I went and sold food for Cisco for a few years until everything came back around, and actually got hired by Bell South Yellow Pages. Remember that big thick yellow book?
Oh, yeah.
I was there. I was a manager that would ride around with the Yellow Page sales reps. And at the time, they were a very seasoned group of people. They had done great with their careers. And however, I was starting to transition over to digital, and I was kind of brought in to help them see that the digital age was kind of on its way. And I try to help many of them transition over. Most did not, and were not able to transition over. And that's why, this world now, it's like not how long you've been somewhere, but like how can you adapt to today's changes?
Mm-hmm,
so really, it's all about adapting and how quickly you can adapt. And so we were at the beginning of the pay-per-click age, back when clicks were 50 cents, and people that still back then, probably half the businesses didn't have websites. So now people do have websites now, but most of them aren't very good. So first things first, you got to have a website. You got to have a website that's mobile friendly. Mm-hmm. That just means that it shows up on the iPad, the iPhone, all those gadgets, because more than half the searches now are being done by a mobile device. So your website has to show up. Then your website has to be relevant. Just because you have a website, it doesn't mean it's going to show up on Google. So there's millions and millions of websites out there. If you don't tell Google that you're there, they're not going to know it. So you have to. There's many tools. They're free to show and let Google know to crawl your site. And then once they do, it will become more and more relevant depending on the content that you have on there. So first things first is, have a website. Make sure that Google knows that that's there. And if you're a local business, you want to create one of those Google My Business profiles. Those are free. That's kind of step two is, first one, have a website. Number two, put your local listing in there, and that's what allows you to kind of start to show up on the maps for things like that, for those keywords and phrases. So Next step is to measure every single thing that you do. I use call tracking software. I use put phone numbers on everything, so I know exactly where my calls are coming from. So each month I can adjust my budgets and things like that. That leaves me to the third thing, which is doing some sort of paid advertising on Google. So there's kind of a Google Lite where you can just kind of go in there and build ads, and you can spend $5-10 a day, but you will get phone calls for any local business. So those are some things that I would recommend for every business. And then also just ongoing putting putting new content on your website, whether it be blog post, images, video content, things like that really do help with your online reputation. So the next thing is taking your making sure you have profiles on LinkedIn for your business and yourself. Make sure those are optimized to 100%. Make sure you have social media profiles set up on Facebook, LinkedIn, just depending on the type of business that you're in. If you're in, cosmetic surgery, you're going to want to have a Instagram page and a Facebook page. If you're in home services, you're definitely going to want to have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, but there's going to be some sort of social media platforms that you're going to want to be on, and you want to post regularly, for LinkedIn, at least once a week. For Facebook, usually once a day. And sometimes more, just depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Again, tracking everything. I use different phone numbers for my Facebook page as my Google page. That's some things that I do. Another strategy is email is still is not dead, and people do check their emails. It is super cheap to do email marketing. There's lots of free marketing platforms out there. Where you can go in and set these email marketings up, and you can email your current client base on a regular basis and let them know what's going on. Reach out to them. So email marketing is huge, and then also marketing automation, which is the next level of that, which is where you can kind of tie all those things together and track and measure how you're doing on Google, how you're doing on Facebook, what leads are coming in from your email marketing. When someone submits a form on your website, they're getting a response automatically from, the tools, and just so that you can be engaged.
So what's your recommendation for, let's say I've got a company that we didn't really, most of our business came from word of mouth or referrals. And let's say we're a home inspection company, right? Yes. So we go out and we inspect homes prior to, the real estate sale. But I got all my business from realtors, word of mouth, going to coffees, lunches, dinners, these kind of things. Well, now that's not really the world we live in today.
No.
So what would you recommend? Kind of, how should somebody that's worried 60, 90 days from now, what would you recommend? Hey, these are the first, you're a small business. These are the first 2 or 3 steps that I would do. And just to start that, that digital online presence.
Right. So again, first off, minimum is having some sort of website or landing page that has your information on there, phone number.
So what is that? I mean, just rough numbers. I don't know how to build a website. What's kind of a budget? I mean, is it $5,000? Is it $1,000? I mean, just for a basic landing page.
Oh, landing page. A lot of the tools that are available out there are drag and drop. You can literally, if you can copy and paste, you can build one. Okay. So that, I mean, think about GoDaddy, for example. Most people have heard of GoDaddy. You can go on there and get a domain for $20, get hosting and a website for another $20 a month. And with that comes with the email address and all the different things you need. And they have little free builders in there where you could build something.
Okay.
MailChimp which is based here. Most people have heard of MailChimp. You can go on there and build free websites, free landing pages, and literally it is drag and drop and copy and paste that really cost you nearly nothing. So a few $100.
Not too daunting. I mean,
no, not at all.
Okay.
In fact, on Google My Business, if you just Google My Business and create a profile, there's a little thing on there where you just click a button and it'll build you a website for free within that tool.
Okay.
So just someone is starting out and they have little to no budget, or that is like the easiest, just to use the tools like Google's tools. Once you start getting into professionally built websites, you can get kind of a single practitioner, maybe like a small designer marketer built you a website for $1,500.
Okay.
That'd be probably something that's not really custom, but that's something that'll get you something really basic. Professionally designed websites probably start around $5,000 and go up. You were right there. And then websites that need to do something. So think about integration, like if they need to do e-commerce or do any type of online transactions or any type of, other than being a pretty page, if it needs to do anything at all, you've got to do some programming there. That's when you're going to go above $10,000. Most e-commerce sites, custom sites, are starting around $16,000 and going up.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you can't go to, say, a Shopify, which is another service out there. And Shopify, you can get on there, and it's also kind of a drag and drop solution. So there's solutions out there for most every budget. But if you're going to hire like an agency to build you one, $5,000 minimum, and then $10,000 and up for something a website that does something. Think about if it needs to have a calendar or an events page, or it needs to connect, say, their Salesforce to it, or things like that. That's when you're really going to, start to spend some money. But just to have a landing page, you can do one of those yourself, or you can get someone for $100, $200 to build you one. And then I built one in 30 minutes this morning. They're really not that hard to build. And then you just make sure that all your traffic goes there, and you want to make sure that you've got a phone number right there at the top. It says call me. That's most of what the local businesses want. They want the phone to ring, especially a home inspector. I've worked with some of those guys in my past networking groups, and they're connected to realtors, of course, and people that do the residential home loans, and those are good people to know. But once you start getting outside of that word of mouth, your typical person is just going to Google home inspector Woodstock, Georgia. Home inspector Cumming, Georgia. If you have a profile built on Google My Business and it's built out to 100%, you're going to most likely show up in that search and at least have a chance to get the business. Make sense?
No, that makes sense. So tell me, so the first step, get a landing page. What would you say the second step would be? So I've got a landing page. I got my phone number up there. I can, if I'm at least have an open sign. For business.
So, right. You've and then also you created your Google My Business listing, and it lets Google know, hey, I'm in this market. These are the things that I focus on. So that's your first kind of marketing piece, is having just the free listing on Google. And then the third piece would be to actually start allocating some budget, $10 a day, $15 a day, to start showing up in those paid ad portion of the search page, which you've seen at the top and also at the bottom where it says sponsored ad or paid ad. And then that just kind of helps you be a competitor. Without that, and that also helps. Let's just say you're incoming, but Swanee is just right over there, or Lake Lanier is right over there. If you're advertising in those areas, you'll also show up there, even though you're not physically in that market. So that's kind of how you would show up, in those areas.
That makes sense.
You can do the same thing with your Facebook page. You can go in and build a profile for home inspector Cumming, Georgia, and then you can create a little ad group and a little ad that says, and you can target people that are within that area or people that are interested in living in that area. So you can be very specific with Facebook marketing as well. And people that are buying houses are typically going to be on Facebook.
That's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know, if you're focusing on some of the younger demographics, you're not going to get them on Facebook. But typically, you know, once they're looking for that home, they're going to be on there. And you can target literally any kind of group that you want on Facebook. So that's another really good place to kind of capture that. So another thing, a lot of these inspectors or any business, you know, they've been around a while. They've got some fans. I would reach out to a handful of those fans and go, hey, I just created this Google page, Google My Business. Could you go on there for a review for me on that page? And Google allows you to just kind of click copy. You can text that or email that to your friends, or, you know, email out, not your friends, but your clients, your past clients. And, you know, most businesses have less than 6 reviews. So if you're looking at 3 options and 2 of them have reviews and one doesn't, that one that doesn't is probably not going to get the call. The one that's got the most reviews with the most stars is most likely going to get the phone call, especially for home inspectors. They want the home inspector that's actually going to go and crawl around in the crawl space and go into the attic, and not just the person with the clipboard that's looking around and they're not really digging in. So if you can get those reviews, and you can also have that same group of people do that on your Facebook page. So you can get Facebook reviews as well as Google reviews. And that's going to be kind of the beginning of your online reputation that you're building, your digital reputation. You've got this great, you know, word of mouth reputation, but this is going to get to where if I'm new to the area and I don't know anyone and I just go to Google, I'm going to see like this guy's got 100 reviews, this guy's got none. So I'm going to probably call the other one first. You know? So
no, that makes sense. I like the idea about you know, getting your past clients to go on there and get your stars, because you're right. I mean, if you see 3 companies, one's got 10 stars and the other 2've got 1, or I mean, it makes sense. You're going to call the one with the most stars.
And in this day and age, you have seconds to capture someone's attention, and you know it's just quick. You know, and then the other thing is, people that are spending all this money and effort on marketing, when the phone rings, guess what? You have to answer it.
That's
That is really I will tell you, I look at clients every day. I look at their call tracking because I do track all the phone calls and I record all the phone calls. So I know who calls, and I find a lot of times they're just not answering them. They're spending all this money. And so you've got to make sure that a live person answers that call, because they are not going to leave a message. No. They're just going to call the next guy that's hungrier that's going to answer the phone. So make sure that call, if it doesn't get answered, it rolls to someone that will answer. In most sales organizations, the salespeople are gladly going to answer that phone if it rings. You know, I leave my phone on. I'm in sales. If my phone rings at 10 o'clock at night, I can look there and see it's a sales call. I'm going to answer it, because guess what? My day tomorrow just got a lot easier.
That's right. Yeah. So talk to me about the numbers. I know you had mentioned some physicians and things like that. You do some Google marketing, or so that you're able to track the numbers when they do call. So how does that work? I mean, that's a little foreign to me, but it makes sense from the tracking standpoint.
Well, if you're looking for, let's just say you want to track one phone number for now. You just say, I want to track a phone number, but I don't want it to be my cell phone number. I want it to be unique for this particular marketing effort.
Okay, makes sense.
For free, you can go to Google and get a Google Voice number.
Okay.
And it's just, you use your normal Gmail login, and you can use Google Voice. And there's even an app on your phone, so it'll ring differently. You'll know that it's from, you know, your marketing efforts. Like I said, if you just have one paid ad out there and you want to track that paid ad, you can go, and then you'll be able to just log into your Google page and see the calls that came in. So that's one idea. Now, more for most businesses that I work with, I use there's several call tracking companies out there. Like there's one called Call Rail, there's one called Call Fire, and you go in there and you buy local numbers and you just forward those to your business number, and it will allow you to track those phone calls, record those phone calls. When you answer it, you can have a whisper there where it'll say Google lead or website lead. And it takes minutes to set it up. And usually that'll run you $20 a month to do.
So when it whispers to you, hey, this is a Google lead. So now you know that whatever activity you're doing under the Google umbrella is generating this phone call.
Yeah. So I have one doctor's office that I've been helping for. I've been working with this guy for a little over a year. We started with one tracking number. I think we've got 30 tracking numbers now. So
really?
I know
from different zip codes. Is that or
right? When we started, he had one office. Now he's got 3 offices, and each office will market. Let's just say that he's got an office in Lawrenceville. We have a Lawrenceville number, but guess what? We have specific marketing efforts for the surrounding areas. So Grayson, Lilburn, all these little areas around Snellville. We have different numbers set up and different landing pages set up for those efforts. So each one of those, let's just say we're spending $50 a day for each one of those. We know, like, okay, at the end of the month or anytime I want to check, he spent, say, $50 on Google ads, but he's gotten 10 phone calls. So we can go in there and go, okay, he got 10 phone calls. I can go in and listen to that. He can go in and listen to those phone calls and go, that turned into an appointment that turned into $3,000 for my practice, right? So you can start to really nail down what's working and what's not working. And so next month he might go, let's push that up to $100 a day, or let's push that down, or I'm not getting anything out of the CULA. Let's just let that go. And it just gives you, I go back to my Yellow Page days. I'd go in to see, an attorney that was spending, lots of money, and he'd go, I don't feel like this is working anymore. Well, we didn't really have any kind of rebuttal. I don't feel like it's working. It's like, people have the Yellow Page book. They're opening the book. We know that, but we have no idea how many people are going to his ad.
Right.
With digital, you know exactly how many people are going there and taking some sort of action.
Wow, that's incredible for small and medium-sized businesses that rely on folks to do some sort of investigation or market search for their business, and now they know exactly where their dollars are going.
Right.
So let's move up to enterprise, a little bit larger organizations that traditionally had sales folks that it was heavily relationship based, based on in-person meetings, based on maybe some presentations. But what are you seeing? I mean, at least for the next several months, those things are going to be limited. So how can these folks continue to keep their pipeline and their funnels full and not being able to do the socialization that they're used to?
Right. So before hopping on this call, I was on a call with another client of mine that they're in the exhibiting logistics business, very niche.
Yeah.
So just think about like the exhibit bodies, right? That goes all over the world. They're the company that will ship that exhibit around the world and to different places. And then during downtimes, let's just say there's going to be 6 weeks before that exhibit is somewhere else, they store that as well. So very niche. And one thing that we've been able to help them with, number one, we put them on as a real CRM where we can, number one, put all their contacts in there. Number two, track everything. Number three, that keeps up with their Google, their Facebook, their LinkedIn, and they have all their their marketing email contacts in there. So they're sending out kind of weekly invitations to sit in on their calls. And these are typically going to be a Google Hangout call or a Zoom call. And they are having panels of speakers on there, experts. Like today, they had a PhD that knows all this knowledge on, how these museums need to be cleaned and how they, and they had an insurance expert on there. And I was on their first call 6 weeks ago, and it was like 20 people on there, and it wasn't, they were just trying to figure it out. They didn't know what to do. And they had this panel, and then now today, this is the third call, they had over 100 people on there, and they had 3 speakers. There was one guy that was, he was like I said, a PhD, some sort of doctor that knew all about biology and germs and that stuff. And then they had an insurance guy on there that talked about how in the future they can get these different types of insurance to protect them against stuff like this, or even terrorists, or there's all kinds of insurance available out there to kind of help with lost income, because all these people, have lost income like a lot of places. So enterprise wise, we're doing a lot of Zoom calls, as you probably are doing a lot of those, Google Hangouts. I've been practicing, with lots of cool backgrounds and stuff. I've been doing about 6 or 7 Zoom calls a day, and that's how I've been kind of staying connected to my clients, and then making sure that there's something of value. So, I'm saying, hey, we're doing this call at 3 today. Please join. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn profile best practices, and you get people on there, great for your business, your insurance business. I'm sure there's topics that, people will be interested in hearing about. It's like, hey, today I'm going to cover this commercial type of insurance topic. If you know anyone that, owns a building or whatever, or a factory, these are some of the things, and you try to get them in with that stuff. But usually we'll start with an email. And you're emailing these people. That's how you're inviting them. Of course, phone calls, but the email works pretty good for these invitations.
Yeah.
But
so you're talking. So you're talking a lot about content. So, I mean, so making rich content that's not about my product or service.
Not necessarily.
Yeah,
things that people might be interested in, though, that's within your vertical or in
that's
your
right
expertise. Yeah,
but that's still, that's not necessarily new, but that's still that's a concept that a lot of folks haven't really invested in.
Right.
So how do you see that? How do you see that sales cycle changing now that we? It's one thing if, hey, Ralph, let's go to lunch. You may say, yeah, I don't have lunch plans today, so I'll go see Greg for lunch. So my hook there is to buy you a free lunch. And I'm a likable guy, and you're like, yeah, we'll go have lunch, and that kind of develops a relationship. But oftentimes I didn't provide you much value outside of a free lunch. Now you just mentioned you've got 6 or 7 Zoom calls a day. So what's the one thing that's going to make you jump on my call or my presentation? It's got to be some relatable content.
Right.
So how do you see that? How do you see that changing for the folks that kind of, certainly in marketing and sales, that didn't really rely on that deep content prior to now?
So it comes with a lot of daily education. So for whatever trade that you're in or organization, I would make sure that I'm tied into all the groups so that I'm educating myself. I'm lucky because I don't watch any sports on TV, even now that there's not any sports, but I still don't watch any sports. I'm reading and learning about marketing and internet strategy all the time.
Okay.
So I want to be a resource for my friends and for my clients, so that they know that no matter what kind of problem they're being hit with, they can call me. I know a guy.
Yeah.
So I'm their resource. So I spend time every day on Google's blog. I'm looking at Facebook, and it gets to be real easy. You're signing up for these people's different email I sign up for interesting articles or hitting my email box every morning. So I don't even have time to read all the articles that are in there. So there's always stuff out there that's going to be new and interesting, because my customers just don't have time to read it a lot of times. So I can be the one to help put them on to these ideas. I can be bringing them ideas. You can get a lot of that from LinkedIn, joining LinkedIn groups. There's a LinkedIn group for just about every kind of profession, so you can get on there and reuse a lot of that content just by simply finding an interesting article that's out there and then reposting it, but then typing a paragraph on why you think this is valuable to your clients. And then you can simply talk about that content. You can do video. You can put that, everybody's got a camera now. You can videotape. Listen to me. You can tell I'm 50. There's no tape anymore. You can video yourself if you want. You can put that on YouTube. You can put that on your channel, your Facebook page, and you can push it out there. Guess what? You can put a different tracking number on those things as well. So you can track you can turn those videos into ads, display ads. So there's a ton of things you can do with content. And then guess what? There's also content writers out there that I can usually get a piece of content written. Say if I wanted to create a whole new web page or a blog page, it cost me about $40.
Wow.
I took English 101 3 times. I'm not the guy. You don't want me writing your content.
Right.
But I can get content written. There's a ton of people out there, freelance writers. You can go in and purchase content that is made specifically for you and for your topic. So that's another way that you can get video. There's little tools out there you can use that will create little promotional videos for you even, $100 a year, you can have videos produced. If you've got anyone that's younger in your office, they can produce the videos for you,
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you've got any interns or any of those people, they already grew up with this. They can create. My daughter's 16. She can create a video like that, So those are some, tools that you can use. There's also there's a product out there called Canva, Canva. .com, and you can go in there and create kind of all your covers for all your social media pages. It helps you create like your graphics for these type of things. So it keeps you from having to go out and buy like say Photoshop or one of those things.
No, that's very smart. And it sounds like you're just saying, basically figure out the content that would be most relevant to your prospect clients or audience. And then there's tools on LinkedIn and other video sources that you don't have to be intimidated that you've got to sit down and get a white piece of paper and just start writing content. No. You can go and tag on to other people's content that you find relevant, share stories that you find relevant, and keep in touch with your client base. Yeah. And think about what they're thinking about.
Yeah, that brings me to another idea. I really do like, I use MailChimp a lot. Okay. You can get a free subscription on there. If you have like less than 500 contacts, it's completely free. You can go in there and build even surveys. So think about this, you can build a survey in there that you can send out to your clients and say, hey, what would you like to learn about in the upcoming months? And you put some topics there yourself, and then you put like a blank one there and say, hey, I love this space. This is my life. What would you like to know more about in the upcoming months? And then you can have your own fan base tell you what they want to know about.
No, that's smart too. Yeah. I mean, that's smart to ask them, hey, what are you most concerned about? What are you most, how is this pandemic affecting your business? Yep. And how can I help you, tackle the most important things
exactly
in the next 60 to 90 days. So no, I think that's huge. So what do you say? What's your prediction for the next year on marketing?
I can tell you I'm busier now than I've been in 6 months.
Wow.
So I think people are getting it. The whole idea here, though, is to advance, not retreat, because let's just say that anything you start today, it's kind of like a diet. Or it's like getting ready for a marathon or any of that thing. It's like you put the goal out there, say for 90 days. It's going to be about 90 days of doing something every single day before you really start to benefit from it. So if you wait until things get back to normal, which is never going to happen, right? You're going to be so far behind that the people that went ahead and advanced, they're the ones that are going to take the market share. So the idea is do something every day so that when things do start to turn around, you're going to be ahead. There's a really book I read probably, 8 or 10 years ago called Exploiting Chaos. And it's not necessarily about, taking advantage of people, but it's all about like people being really smart when everyone else is running around, the sky is falling. It's like, you know what? This has happened before. And, there was a company, Post, who made grape nuts. They had all the cereal business, during the Great Depression. They had the cereal business kind of cornered, and they owned the market. And when the Depression hit, they kind of pulled back on some of their marketing efforts because they thought we're fine. We're going to be good. And guess what? This other company called Kellogg's launched with this tiger, right? Tony the Tiger. And they smashed, they took them down, Kellogg, and you can read, there's hundreds of businesses that have grown during these tougher times because they advanced. And they just kept running towards the bullets, and that's what I tell everyone. I'm like, don't save every dollar you've got, because if you can invest something, you're going to start getting returns from it. And, in 60, 90 days down the road, when the phone's ringing and your competition's out of business, or they, so I say you got to keep investing, and that's not just because I'm a sales guy. It's just because I know that if I go to Google and I type something in and you're not there, you don't get my phone call. The one that is out there advertising is the one that gets my phone call.
Yeah.
So especially if that call costs you $5,
right?
So that
makes complete sense. Well, I certainly appreciate your time, Ralph. What would you suggest? Folks hear this and they say, you know what, Ralph's got some great ideas. How do you suggest that they get in touch with you just to kind of do a very low level conversation, see how you can help?
Well, the good news is this is what I do all day, and I love it. As you can probably tell, I love this part of it. I work with tons of startups, small businesses, up to, big multi-million-dollar businesses. But the helping the regular local business is like one of my favorite things to do. Strategy sessions cost $0. So people can click a link, schedule a call with me, and, it'll be a Zoom. It'll be Zoom for now, for sure, until we get back out there. I do like to get out there as much as I can. Our office is in Sandy Springs, so I'm local. But yeah, it'd be like we'd schedule a strategy session and we just talk about the business. And usually before I get on the call, I say, send me your website link, and I'll do kind of a whole analysis of everything, and I'll come to them with at least 10 ideas. Yeah. And if they did a couple of those ideas, they're going to win. Yeah.
No, that's huge. That's huge. Well, what's the best phone number or website that folks should be able to reach out?
All right. Well, it's Code Conspirators. So codeconspirators.com.
Okay.
And I actually have a business card right here.
Perfect.
What's up here? But right there.
There we go.
I'll just leave it right there for a second.
All right.
But yeah, we're a local agency. We build websites. We do development. We do automation, all the social media stuff, search engine optimization, which is SEO, search engine marketing, SEM, all those things, and full service shop. And we're all local, so you get a real live person in America, right here in Georgia, that you can talk to about business. I'd love to help anybody.
Well, I'll certainly include your contacts in the links and show notes. And Ralph, I really appreciate your energy. I hope that folks understand that I know you're here to help, and I hope they take you up on your free consultation to kind of give any small business in the Atlanta area an idea of how they should be tackling this new marketing and new sales process as we move forward.
All right. Love to help. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much, Ralph. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. Bye.